We are back with another episode of the New York Sports Rapid Rundown. Summer is officially over. It doesn't make me happy. We are now in the season of fall. Now, some of y'all like fall. Fall's cool, but it's not summer, which means football. It's in full swing. NBA hoops and hockey, they're right around the corner. Busy times right now. And this week, we're going to talk about the three hottest topics in New York sports with a good friend of mine. He's a lover of violence and combat sports, a contributor to the New York Post and the Action Network. And we've hosted a sports and hip hop podcast for many years together called the Ain't Hard to Tell podcast. My guy, Bryan Fonseca. What's up, man?
Doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing good, man. Glad to have you here for this show. You've been doing many things. We did a lot. People watch the New York Post and SNY content. You see us do a lot of FIBA basketball. This guy is a FIBA basketball junkie, too. I did not mention that as well.
Yeah, that's right.
But good to have you here. We're going to talk about the three hottest topics in New York sports. You ready?
I am ready.
All right, Bryan and everybody, we're going to kick off this question. We're talking about the Giants. They got week 3 of NFL action kicked off on Thursday night out in San Francisco, but Big Blue, they didn't look good. They were dominated by the Niners 30-12. And I know this, Bryan, they had no Saquon Barkley, the G-Man, right? He's out for this one. But did this game show you how large of a gap there might be between the Giants and the elite in the NFL right now? Is that what you saw in this game?
Well, in the preseason, when you're looking at the sort of NFC hierarchy, right, you have to pencil in certain playoff spots. You knew that the East was getting 2 with the Eagles and the Cowboys. And you pretty much knew that the West was getting 2 with the 49ers, and I would still say the Seahawks, even though they had that week 1 sort of mishap against the Rams, they bounced back with a nice win over the Lions. Then the North has to have a division winner. Then the South has to have a division winner. You have 1 playoff spot left for the Giants to take versus whomever else. Could be the Rams, could be the Vikings, could be, the Lions if they don't win their division, the Packers, whatever the case may be, right? So ultimately, I think that the Giants are a good team. There's a reason why they're over-under with 7.5 heading into the season. Because even if you hit that over, you go 8-9, maybe 9-8. Is that good enough to get you to the playoffs? I'm not sure. And ultimately, I think that they're a good team who is flawed, who has a good coach in Brian Daboll, but are they somebody who you can just sort of pen in to make the playoffs? No, because A, their division is tough, and B, the NFC just sort of has this weird tier system where you're looking at the teams at the top, 49ers being one of them, and they're as good, well-rounded as anybody.
They look great.
And then beyond that, it's like, where do the Giants sort of fit in? Could they get one of those playoff spots? I'm not sure.
Yeah, and it's interesting because it feels like if you're a fan of the Giants, you're wondering where this team is, where they can go. Are they kind of stuck in the middle? I think their over-under number, like you just mentioned, was kind of appropriate for who they are and what they are. So I don't know if they're as good as we saw with them against the Cardinals. Maybe they're not as bad as we saw of them against the Niners. Maybe somewhere in between. But talking about somebody that everybody's talking about with the Giants, that's Daniel Jones, okay? Now, against the Niners, 22 of 32, 137 yards, no touchdowns, threw a pick. I see your face. You're like, nobody was impressed by that. Listen, he's been criticized by some of the Giants fan base, right, of not being deserving of his new contract. We saw what he did in Arizona, right? He led the comeback.
Yeah.
But the question for me here, Bryan, is he a quarterback that you believe can lead the Giants to the promised land? Is he that guy?
I think sometimes we could overstate quarterback play because I do think that you can win with a bunch of different guys depending on who else you have on this team. And I think with the Patrick Mahomes types, of which there are a few of, they increase your sort of margin for error because they're so good that what they have around them, like they're winning, constantly Super Bowls and AFC championships or whatever, despite not having all-world defenses, you would say. And Patrick Mahomes sort of gives you that cushion. With Daniel Jones, you need a better team around him. There are certain guys that when you win a Super Bowl with them, or if you're able to win a Super Bowl with them, Nick Foles, Joe Flacco, the last version of Peyton Manning with the Denver Broncos, if you have a great defense, if you have some playmaking around them, that helps. And I think if you're going to win with Daniel Jones on a serious level, you're going to need a certain level of talent around him. And do the Giants have that right now? I don't think so. Their 2 best wide receivers aren't really wide receivers. You have Darren Waller and Saquon Barkley, making plays sort of out of the backfield, catching the ball, whatever the case may be. But for Daniel Jones, I just think you need more around him. And that really sort of clouds people's judgment when they look at him because he has that massive contract. So it's like, if you have the massive contract, you're kind of paid to be, not Mahomes, but you're paid to be someone who can lift the team, not against the Arizona Cardinals, but against somebody like the Dallas Cowboys or the Philadelphia Eagles. Does he have the capability of doing that? I'm not sure. Is there room for him to get better? Because he's still fairly young.
Still fairly young, right.
He's also been in the league for several years at this point as a starter. So I'm not really sure. I think ultimately with Daniel Jones, though, you need a good amount of talent around him. There are some things he can do well, but when he drops back to pass, do you really have confidence that he's going to hit somebody 25 yards down the field in stride perfectly? Or are you more comfortable with, hey, just take it off and run, or hey, just dump it off to Saquon Barkley and just, get some positive yardage?
Yeah, I think the problem with that is that sounds like a game manager, right? And I hate using that term. It sounds like a game manager. But fans are like, we're paying $40 million for a game manager. And I think the money sometimes gets a little overstated, because the market's always reset every year. It's going to happen. This is the price. This is what you have to pay. Yeah. But people hear the $40 million and they see some of the play they've seen thus far this year, and they're like, we're not getting that return on our investment. So it's interesting with the Giants. Yeah. We'll see how that plays out. Okay, going to talk about the Jets. The 1-1 New York Jets, they host the 0-2 New England Patriots. Now, the Pats, they might be winless, and I see your face here. Winless means nothing here, guys. They've won 14 straight games against their division rivals. That would be the Jets. With how challenging, Bryan, the Jets' schedule is to start the season, do you view this game in Week 3 as a must-win for Gang Green? And what do you think this game is going to tell us about the Jets? Because I feel like a lot has to be told about the Jets when somebody's whooped your butt 14 times in a row. So something's got to change, or it could continue.
Yeah, I don't like calling a Week 3 game a must-win. However, that schedule is brutal, right? Like, you have the Chiefs and the Eagles coming up, for example. I think that the Jets really, they need this one, is what I would say. And on top of that, this is a division rival who, this is the Patriots at their weakest. They're, to me, I think the worst team in the division, just from a team construction standpoint, right? Like, I don't have a lot of faith in Zach Wilson. I don't really have a lot of faith in Mac Jones either. But I also think that this is a team who can beat the Jets because, one, they just have had their number, and two, their defense is good. Like, the Pats' defense is legitimately good, and that's something that can give the Jets, particularly Zach Wilson, problems. To me, this game is more about their quarterback situation. If Zach Wilson is going to be someone who's, and I hate this term, but the guy moving forward, he needs to prove it probably in this game more than anyone else, because if I were the Jets, I would already be trying to look at a Jameis Winston, who is not playing currently in New Orleans right now, or, some of the other backup quarterbacks that are around the NFL. I feel like you just need somebody a cut above, because we've already seen this experiment with Zach Wilson now. Don't want to give up a guy who's just in the first few seasons of his career, but at the same time, no one really has seen anything in Zach Wilson where it's like, hey, this is sort of the guy moving forward, I feel like.
Right, and that brings me to my next question, right? Because I think nobody has seen that yet. And there's some people that are going to believe, they're going to hold out hope. I understand Jets fans are out there, they got to hold out the hope. Yeah. But let's keep it a buck here. Zach Wilson, he did not look good against the Cowboys defense in Week 2. And the Cowboys defense looks beastie, right? So we'll give the Cowboys defense credit there. Quite frankly, he struggled against New England through his career too. So for this game, you talked about how this means a lot for Zach Wilson in this game. What are you going to be looking for? What are you keeping your eyes on in terms of how Wilson performs in this game against the Patriots, which you're saying is pretty much a must-win in Week 3, which sounds crazy, but what are you keeping your eyes on, in fact, of what you want to see him do in this game?
Is he going to hit guys when they're open? Smart decision-making. Do I need to see a clean game? Sure, that would be preferred, but at the same time, if you're taking smart chances, smart gambles, and maybe there's a ball that gets tipped and picked off or whatever, will I hold that against him? Probably not, depending on what the chance actually is. Is he still throwing into double coverage, putting receivers in danger, potentially getting those interceptions and getting incomplete passes and things of that nature? Is he, when called for, trying to make plays with his feet and extending, what we talked about, something that Daniel Jones does really well, because he at least has that. I feel like those are the plays that really got him the contract that he got, because he can look up, and it's not just the design runs, but, hey, I don't have option 1, I don't have option 2, let me get out and run. Could Zach Wilson sort of process that quickly enough against a defense that's going to blitz him and put the pressure on him for all 4 quarters? Now, is he going to do those things? Or, these are the questions I have, but ultimately, this is what you need to see, because they used to tell you, because now you need to see quarterback play like right away, but they used to tell you year 3 is where that development should kick in. This was my case for Geno Smith a long, long time ago, and then he got punched in the face. And look at him now. He became a Pro Bowler several years later. But with Zach Wilson, this is where you kind of need to see the growth, and you need to see it against division rival. Is he going to make those plays? I'm not sure, but that's what we need to see from him. It's just the smart decision making and keeping them in the game and really winning the game, taking advantage of, the defense potentially creating turnovers and putting you in positive position down the field, so that if you get the ball on their 28-yard line, on New England's 28-yard line, can that turn into a touchdown as opposed to a field goal, Zach Wilson? Those are the things that we're going to be looking for.
Yeah, there's going to be things to keep an eye on. Jets fans hoping that Wilson and Gang Green can play well in Week 3 against the Patriots, which my man Bryan Fonseca is calling a must-win. Okay, basketball. It's right around the corner. You know I love hoops. I'm always excited for some hoops. Let's talk some Knicks off-season rumors, okay? Let's do that. Knicks fans, still the off-season, no season's coming, going to get excited. Buck star, Giannis Antetokounmpo, he's put the league on notice, man. Said that he will not re-sign in Milwaukee if everybody is not on the same page and committed to winning another NBA title. SNY Knicks and Nets reporter Ian Begley, he reported that the Knicks are going to keep tabs on the Giannis situation. Now, look, Brian, we know this. The Knicks, they're always linked to getting a star. You're always going to hear this.
Yeah.
Especially they want to pair one with Jalen Brunson. Is Giannis the star that the Knicks need right now?
I mean, it helps. He's a top 3, 4, 2, 1 player in the NBA, according to some people. Here's the thing. Like, the Knicks have been built to get a star because they, on their roster right now, do not have a single max contract. Of all the teams who are playoff contenders, actual contenders, whatever, you name me all the teams that are in that financial situation, right? Julius Randle was signed for less than a max. RJ Barrett is not on a max contract. Jalen Brunson, famously, not on a max contract. Got paid a lot, but he's not on a max contract. And now you're looking at him a year later, and he looks like a bargain.
Yep.
So with the Knicks, is Giannis the guy they need? I mean, Giannis, Joel Embiid, they're clearly built for somebody else to come in, potentially in Julius Randle's spot, unfortunately. But, like, if you're looking to sub one of Jalen Brunson, RJ Barrett, Julius Randle out, it's not going to be Jalen Brunson, and it might be Julius Randle. So if you're looking at slotting in Giannis Antetokounmpo instead, if you're able to make that happen, now I think this is more of a summer thing than a trade deadline thing. But listen, Milwaukee gets off to a bad start because they didn't make, otherworldly changes in this offseason. If Milwaukee gets off to an 11-14 start the first 25 games of the season, are people going to be looking around and seeing what's going to happen next with Giannis Antetokounmpo? Yes, because Giannis has basically said, hey, I'm not going to sign here. I want to win more than anything else. I'm a Buck, but I want to win. So the Knicks should be monitoring all these star situations, particularly those two, because Damian Lillard's available right now, but that doesn't make a lot of sense with Jalen Brunson, right? I think Giannis makes a lot of sense here. I think Joel Embiid makes a lot of sense here. And I think the Knicks have positioned themselves because they also have the draft capital where they can pull these things off. And then financially, the max contract situation, they're going to be able to piece together the salary if it becomes a sign and trade or whatever the case may be, or an actual trade, to pull this off. So they're in position to do that, and I think they should target both of those guys, with Giannis probably being priority.
All right, so Giannis being a priority would be something that you would do. And I think when we talk about this conversation around the Knicks getting a star, which is going to continue, as I said before, and probably around Giannis, I think you make a really good point about if the Bucks get off to a slow start, that the chatter is only going to increase. It's only going to continue. So it brings me to this, B. Do you think the Knicks land a star before the 2023-2024 season is over? And do they need to do that this season? Or is it, you kind of alluded to this, is this something that could wait till the offseason? Is it imperative this happens this season? Because you know, and I know, as native New Yorkers, there's going to be some fans that are like, yo, we need a star now. Yeah. This needs to happen right now, right? Does this need to happen sooner rather than later?
If it's Giannis or Joel Embiid, I'm inclined to more so think that it's going to be a summer type of deal. But let's have some fun with this and live in the scenario where if a team gets off to a slow start, and if it's going to be, because Luka Doncic is somebody who could be on the clock. I don't think that's this season. Damian Lillard's on the clock right now. Again, I don't know how much sense he makes with the Knicks. But when it comes to Joel Embiid and Giannis Antetokounmpo, the Bucks and Sixers are going to be under immense pressure to be competitive right out the gate in the regular season. One, because they're kind of in, I don't want to say title or bust situations, but their organizations and at least their fan bases would sort of look at it that way, right? And Giannis has already kind of put the Milwaukee Bucks on the clock. If they get off to slow starts, Joel Embiid and Giannis are going to be looking around, and we're already worried about Joel Embiid and how long he's going to be in Philadelphia because you're seeing how the James Harden situation is playing out. Tyrese Maxey doesn't have his contract yet. He's going to want one. And that in Philadelphia can go south really quickly. Milwaukee has their championship. So maybe there's some, okay, Giannis can sort of break free if he wants to, and they'll get what they get back in some sort of trade down the future. But I think I'd be watching these two situations if I'm the Knicks. And if it has to happen this season, like if somebody asks out in January, so to speak, the Knicks do have the money and the draft capital to pull this off. So they're in a position to do that. I think they could sort of stand pat, watch this play out, and really try to ascend, because in the Eastern Conference, I think even now, even as presently constructed, you still look at the Bucks, the Sixers, the Heat, and the Celtics in no particular order as a top four. But if we're looking up in January and the Knicks have one of those spots, then yes, I think that they should be trying to potentially pull something off, because I still think the East is wide open, and I don't think anyone's gotten a great deal better, the Knicks included.
All right, it should be interesting to see. As I said, basketball season right around the corner, Brian. Can't wait. It's going to be a lot more Knicks talk coming up real soon. Okay, we're going to do a bonus question. We usually do top three, but I got a bonus question for Brian, because, Brian, you do a lot of stuff with the Action Network. You always talk about betting. So I had a betting question for you here.
Yeah.
And it involves the New York sports teams. Which New York metro area sports team is the best bet to be the next team to bring a championship to the era? Because taking out NYCFC, who did it a couple years ago, it's been a bit of a drought, right?
Yeah.
Who's the best bet in terms of a New York sports team to bring a championship to the area?
It's easily the New York Liberty.
Easy.
It's not even close.
Not even
because I think they can do it this year. And as a matter of fact, I bet on them plus 150 heading into this, because in the WNBA during the season, they've matched up with the Las Vegas Aces really well. And even before that, we've been staring in the face an Aces Liberty final pretty much since the start of the season, and it looks like we might actually get it. Now, there's going to be some difficulty in the conference semifinals before that, because the Connecticut Sun, I don't think there's a team that's going away quietly. But I think with the New York Liberty, Breanna Stewart's been awesome this year. Sabrina Ionescu's been awesome. Benijah Laney's been awesome. Like, this is a team. Courtney Vandersloot, I think, she's one of my favorite point guards to watch, just in general. Sloot fits all the profile of what you like in a point guard. I know this. Tough-minded, passes first. Yep.
For people who don't know, this is a Bryan Fonseca profile player in Courtney Vandersloot, who's a tremendous player. Shout out to Sloot.
Yeah, I love Courtney Vandersloot. And then Jonquel Jones, we've talked about this.
Right.
She's somebody who, since the All-Star break, has really ticked it up a level to where she's playing like her all-star self.
Getting double-doubles all the time, right?
Yes, and she's just been a terror on the glass. I think the New York Liberty have the best chance, because even if they don't beat, let's say, the Aces this year, which in the series, I still would favor the Liberty at this point. Not favor, but I'd pick them, because they've matched up with the Aces well all season. But even if they don't get it done this year, they can do it next year, because this is a team that I don't think is going anywhere, and I think they're built for the next 3 to 5 years to be sort of sniffing around that WNBA championship. Maybe they bring 1 or 2 to New York. We'll see.
I think you're right that they are easily the best bet for a team. I'm not even sure who's number 2, to be kind of honest. I don't really know who's number 2. The way you talked about the Jets, I don't think you're going to say the Jets. No. Don't think you're going to say the Giants. We're not going to talk about New York baseball, because that's been very disappointing this year. We know how that's went. The Rangers are kind of in there. So, the Devils, who are a good team in the area, they're on the uptick there.
I don't know how much magic Rick Pitino has, but
we didn't even mention St. John's. I think we'll see. We're not going to go far with that much magic. We'll see. I do think the Liberty are our best bet. We'll see if they can bring a championship to New York. I think a lot of people like to see that, especially with basketball around the corner.
Yeah.
That is my guy, Bryan Fonseca. Check out his work with the Action Network, also on New York Post. Great job. Glad to have you here also, because it's Hispanic Heritage Month. Got to shout that out too. You see the shirt, Latino World Order.
The Bad Bunny, the Bad Bunny WWE.
I see you representing. You had to represent. I appreciate you coming on the New York Sports Rapid Rundown, man. Appreciate it.
Anytime. Thank you.
Always good.
Yeah.
As I said, check out Bryan Fonseca's work. Until next time on the New York Sports Rapid Rundown. Peace.